Hi, I'm Marty Korn. Welcome to the first official show of Conversations Over Cappuccino. This is a show that's very casual, and we do have not cappuccino but coffee. And the first show is I think, a superb show because we have Noami. That's how you say it. Yes. Noami. Okay, who said you see a very spunky lady, Halpern, who is most famed at the current time because she is not yet 102, 101, which everyone is impressed with except for one person, Noami. Is that correct?
Well, it's not my doing.
It's not your doing, no.
God's not ready for me.
He wants you here.
Right.
So, but that's so interesting because I was asking Nomi what she would like to talk about and what's most interesting to her. And of course, the age came up. And what's interesting to a lot of people is her age. And that's not most interesting to her. Is that correct?
It's just things that happen. It just happened to me. I didn't plan it.
You didn't plan it.
No.
Are you surprised?
Well, a little bit. I think my mother planned it because she gave me only the most wholesome food she could find.
Oh, yes?
She's very
So she was
persnickety.
good
Yes.
to you. Yeah.
Took good care of me.
Yes, and you were born in Israel.
In Jerusalem.
In Jerusalem. Tell me about that. Tell me about you got, just the flow of your life, if you will.
My mother came to Israel, Palestine then, because her family was afraid she was going to marry the wrong man.
Ah.
So they shipped her off to her brother in Jerusalem.
She came from where?
From Yekaterinoslav in Russia.
Ah.
Yeah. And so it was there that she met my father.
I see.
Who was teaching at Bezalel. Bezalel's the art school in Israel.
Which was a good thing for you, I suppose.
Well, I didn't know it yet because I wasn't born yet.
It was eventually to be a good thing.
Eventually, yes.
Yeah.
So my father was an artist.
Oh, your father was an artist?
Yes, all these paintings are his.
Ah.
Most of them.
Ah.
And metal worker as well.
Ah,
Yeah.
yes. Okay,
So,
good.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And
So
they met there,
Yes.
and it was a romance.
Yes.
And they got married within a year of her arrival. And among her gifts was a gazelle and 2 goats.
Ah, that was her dowry
Her wedding gift.
A wedding gift.
Yeah.
So no fancy...
No fancy anything.
things.
It was Jerusalem.
It was Jerusalem.
Yes.
It was a different time.
Yes.
And what year did they get married, do you know?
What year?
Yeah.
1913, I guess. I was born in 14.
You were born in 14.
Yeah, so...
In Jerusalem.
In Jerusalem.
And you spent... when did you leave? Or when did your family leave?
guess just before the World War.
World War One.
One.
Yeah, most people, when they talk about leaving before World War, they talk about World War II, but
No.
not
No.
Noami.
Yes. So that must have been 14, 15, 16. When did the war start? I don't know.
1917, and I
All
better
right.
be right about
16.
that.
So we left in
It better be
16.
17, didn't it?
Yeah.
I'm going to edit
And
that out.
my father left on a passport that said brown hair,
Was it, or is it? Yeah.
dark eyes. He left on a phony passport.
Okay.
Yeah. He had blue eyes and blonde hair.
Okay.
And it said black eyes, brown hair. And the man
Oh, so
looked at him.
it was a phony passport.
Yeah, because he would not have been permitted to leave because they were looking for men for the army.
For the army.
World War One
I
was
see.
coming.
Was coming, I see.
Yeah.
It was 19...
So-
Oh, this is going to bother me. Now, we may have to reshoot this, but World War One. Anyway, it's the beginning of World War One, and your father you said was... your father was being recruited for the Turkish army.
All men were being recruited.
For the Turkish
And
army.
we thought it was a good time to leave.
It probably was.
Yes, he had an older brother in America, so
Yes.
we knew where to go and what to do.
Yes.
And so we were kept in jail in Palestine to make sure we'd leave. And we left for Egypt.
What do you mean to make sure you'd leave?
To make sure that we'd leave the country.
Why were you put in jail?
Just to make sure that we were going to leave. And the same thing happened in Egypt.
Go somewhere else?
In Egypt.
Wow.
The same thing. We were imprisoned until we would leave.
Wow.
And it's actually in jail that I took my first steps. So
is that true?
I was a jailbird, a very small jailbird.
A small jailbird.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so from there we went from Egypt to
story,
Italy,
right? Yes.
up through Italy, through the tip of Spain into France, to England, where we got the boat to America. Yeah.
Did you think about, well, I guess you wanted to get out of Europe at that point.
I wasn't thinking. I was a baby.
You probably were, though.
No, I was just interested in where is my next
bottle. Did they
bottle?
think they just wanted to get to the America?
Out
of the area.
Out.
Yeah.
And my mother warmed the milk from my bottle under her skirt on a primus. You know what a primus is?
No, I don't.
It's a little stove with a candle. So that's what she did under her very long skirt.
Yeah.
I
see.
And so she didn't go up in flame, but I had my bottle of milk.
That's good.
And we got to the States.
Yeah.
And then I had an uncle and an aunt, and we lived in Manhattan, Bronx, Brooklyn, Jersey City, Newark.
Because why were you making a tour?
Well, my father had to make a living, so I guess that's how.
And he made a living as an artist, or did he? No, probably not.
He tried house painting. It lasted one day.
Oh. He didn't like that.
No, he got dizzy on the ladder.
Oh, I see.
So that was out.
So anyway,
he had to manage.
He had to manage. Okay, now let's get to your kind of development. So
my development was, I began to dance, I think, in my early teens. And one day a woman came by my dressing room.
Right.
And she said, someday... She said, what are you doing here? You should be studying with Fokine. And to say that was like saying, why don't you drop in at the White House for tea?
Oh, really?
I mean, Fokine, the great ballet master. And so it turned out that I really did end up at Fokine's.
How did you get there?
Well, there was an article in the paper that he was accepting new students, and they would have to dance for him, and he would judge whether they're able to, whether they had any talent at all.
Yes.
And so when I got there, he said to me, what kind of a dancer are you? I was 12.
Right.
I said, I'm an Oriental dancer. He said, really? All right, will you dance for me? So he sat down at the piano. Now this is not just an ordinary person. This is Michel Fokine of the Russian ballet. And he played me a Nitra's dance. You know, from Peer Gynt?
Okay, I know Peer Gynt.
All right, so he played me that. It's really not Oriental, it's in 3/4 time.
Right.
But I improvised, and he laughed a little. He said, all right,
you're okay.
You're all right.
That's delightful.
Yes, and so I studied with Fokine and studied with many modern dancers in New York. And then many dancers came from other countries, Spain, India, with their groups. And I thought, why not from my country? Why not represent the people I come from?
Yes.
And so I worked on a repertoire of biblical dances, which I presented at the New York Times Hall.
At the New York Times Hall?
No, first 92nd Street Y. I won the auditions, and then at the New York Times Hall.
That was a performance hall, New York Times Hall?
Yes, it's still functioning. Yes.
Okay.
41st Street, next to Sardi's. There's a theater.
Okay.
That's it. And it went on from there.
Yes. And tell me about your career. What happened with it?
Well, what happened was I was invited. This is after touring America, Canada, Mexico, Cuba, etc. I was invited to come to Israel to make a movie by the time I got to Israel, the company didn't exist anymore.
Now,
But
you
yes.
went back to Israel.
Yeah, to make a movie.
About,
I didn't know what it was going to be about. It was just a movie.
someone asked
And they
you.
needed a dancer.
Oh, they needed a dancer for the movie. Okay, I see.
And so I went, and by the time I got there, the movie company had dissolved into nothing.
I see, okay.
And so instead I danced for one of the companies there, the OHEL company, and planned to make a premiere appearance in Tel Aviv.
Yes.
And that was the beginning of my career in Israel.
I see. So you had dance careers both in Israel and in the United States.
Well, just the start of a career.
I see.
And then there was a man who sang very well in one of the local theaters. So with him, we planned a program of song and dance and something we did together.
Right. Now we have a wonderful, here.
Well, that's a flower vendor.
I don't know if you can, if you can't zoom in, can you zoom in? Tilt it down, okay. Does that look good?
Well,
Okay.
it's based on a girl I actually saw.
Ah.
A little girl walking with her brother. She played the cymbals,
Right.
finger cymbals.
Right, even if it's...
And they went to all the cafes in Tel Aviv dancing,
right.
And people gave them coins.
I see. So
that's the origin
okay.
of this dance.
Oh, and here, that's gorgeous.
Well, that's a Yemenite dance.
Ah. How old were you then?
Oh, in my 20s.
In your 20s.
I was a grown-up then.
Yeah. So you did a lot of ethnic style.
That's exactly what I did.
Is this showing well? Let's tilt it down. Okay.
That's the street dancer with the finger cymbals.
Yes.
There's another dancer.
Yes.
Oh.
Now
This is now a biblical dance.
This is you.
Yes, that's me.
These are all you.
It's all me. Yes. That's a Yemenite.
If you tilt it down, you could say tilt it better.
Yeah.
Down more. Okay.
The prop has nothing to do with the dance. It just happened to be in the studio, but they thought it would be a good prop.
Oh my God, these are wonderful, wonderful, wonderful pictures.
That's Rebecca at the well.
I see. So just tell me more, and I'll just flip through these, and maybe as they come up. Just tell me more about what you did in your career. And
well, the idea was to present dances of the Bible.
Yes.
And of the surrounding countries, because you have a Persian dance there. When I was in Paris,
I'll take pictures and we'll put them up as we go. So let's not worry whether we get. Oh, this is fascinating.
Well, that's a company I had
to show this.
in Boston. Boston had no modern dance company, so.
So this was your company.
That was my company.
So you did
modern dance
as well as what would you characterize your dance forms as?
Based on biblical themes, I guess. And modern Israel.
And modern, I see.
Yeah.
I see. So, okay, so just go back to where your career is going. I know it's...
Well, a great help in starting the biblical dance was my husband, who was a rabbi.
I see.
And so...
Now, you were with him for 40 years, is that
40
correct?
40 years, yes.
Yeah.
This was in Long Island, in Rockville Center. And so he helped me do my research on biblical dance.
Yes.
And the result was the concert that I gave at the New York Times Hall.
Oh, I see.
That was my debut concert.
And you did a lot of dances at synagogues, I understand.
That came later, the idea of bringing dance back to religion, which used to be a great part of it. And so I would dance in various synagogues throughout the country.
When you say used to be a great part of it, can you talk about that?
In ancient times, there were dances, songs and dances included in service.
Yes.
And so I tried to restore that. And I danced in various synagogues throughout the country, Canada,
Yes.
Mexico,
Yes.
Cuba.
Uh-huh.
That's it. Yeah.
And you were in the Ziegfeld Follies.
That preceded this.
That preceded
I was in
all
a
that.
modern dance group with Sarah Mildred Strauss,
I see.
and we auditioned, and they took us into the Ziegfeld
I
Follies.
see.
The first time they had modern dance.
Yeah.
And we were there, I guess, 3 months when we noticed that all the chorus girls are in the wings watching very intently. So we surmised that the company was probably going to go on tour and we would be eliminated.
Oh.
And so they were trying to
learn
our routine. So we improvised every night. We did a different dance every night. And that was the end of that tour.
That was delightful.
But my own dance really came a little later when I began to study the Bible and looked for material for my concert.
Right.
And my husband helped me with that.
Yes.
So I had Miriam and Deborah and various other people.
Yes. And tell me about being your age. That's always
My age?
interesting to people. Maybe not to you, but it's to
well,
people.
I don't find it, you don't really think about it.
Bad.
One day adds up to another day and another day, and and there you are at 101.
It just kind of happens, huh?
It just happens.
Yeah, but your energy is good, and your interest
I'm fine.
and you're happy.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
And you teach a Yiddish class, I understand.
I teach it at the local congregation.
Yes. Yeah.
That's every Wednesday.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of fun.
Is it a lot of fun?
Yeah.
Delightful.
A lovely group of people.
Yeah.
And they are there every Wednesday.
Yeah, they are.
Rain, sunshine, snow, blizzard, they're there.
That's delightful.
They're there.
That's delightful.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, what else should I ask you about?
What should you ask me?
Well,
I live alone with my cat.
Yes.
And we're a happy couple.
You are a happy
couple.
Yes.
And I have good friends who drop in for tea.
Yes.
And other things.
And your life is just enjoyable as it is.
Yes, very pleasant.
And your energy
And I love living in Woodstock.
Oh yeah, tell me about your transition to Woodstock.
Well, we've been coming here for since the 30s, since I got married.
Why? What drew you to Woodstock?
What drew us? We looked for some place to go, summertime, and my husband's brother rented this house.
Oh, this house here.
So we were familiar with the house.
I see.
And then we rented for a few years, and then I came to speak to the woman who owned the house at the time. I can't think of her name, because she was running a series of lectures, and I wanted to invite Pearl Buck.
I see.
Later I worked with Pearl Buck. That's another story. But in talking to her, she said, this house is for sale now.
Ah.
And so we took advantage.
But just go back, zip back a little bit, because I was thinking about something else. But you said you met Pearl Buck.
Yes, she ran a bureau of speakers and performers.
In this area?
In Philadelphia.
Oh, in Philadelphia.
Yes.
I see.
And so she invited me to join her crew.
Okay.
And I was one of her artists.
Oh, very nice.
Yes.
Very nice.
So that was a pleasant
What was she like?
association. Very pleasant woman.
Was she?
Yes.
Interesting?
Good to work with. Yes.
Yeah.
Simple. Direct.
Yes.
Sense of humor.
Yes.
Yeah, lovely person.
So you officially moved to Woodstock when?
At first we rented just for the summer.
Yes.
And then finally we bought a house, this house.
I see. And tell me, what does Woodstock mean to you?
Well, it means that I can live my life in any way I please.
Right.
Because nobody cares, and I don't care how my neighbor lives either.
That's nice.
So it's a sense of freedom
and the community
and comfort.
And the community?
Lots of interesting people,
Yeah, that's
lovely people.
fascinating. Yeah.
And many people with the same interests.
Yes.
So I'm a member of Edie Lefever's drama group.
Oh, really?
That's one. On Wednesdays, I teach Yiddish at the...
And what do you do in the drama group?
Oh, mime,
Ah,
pantomime, acting.
and you're still doing that?
It's up to us to pick whatever we want. Yes, yes.
Can you do something here?
No.
Oh, why not?
No, because there's no need. I need a stage.
Oh, here's a stage. You have a camera. You have a
Not really.
stage.
Not really. Not really. No.
Okay.
So that takes a little preparation.
That takes,
yes.
But you still like to, and you were dancing until when?
Oh, golly. I guess till about 10, 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm. So you were in your 80s?
80s.
80s.
Yeah, yeah.
And what made you
Just
decide to stop?
Well, I decided
It was time.
it was time. One knows when it's time.
There
Yeah.
wasn't an event or something, or just
Nothing dramatic, nothing sensational.
Oh,
No. I just decided that was it.
enough is enough.
Well, it's not enough, but there's time to stop.
Do you miss it?
Not really.
Not really.
Not really. Not now. I did it at the beginning.
Yeah.
Not
yeah,
now.
Yeah.
Life is full enough now.
It is full. And how do you spend your days?
My days, reading, embroidering, crocheting,
Yes.
playing with my cat,
Yes.
or teaching Yiddish
Yes.
at the synagogue.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Okay. Any thoughts? I'm going to just come out. Any thoughts of things, other things we should talk about?
Well, I guess
Actually, that's Linda Diamond, who's a choreographer here, who's in the background. What? Actually, this may be a good time for us to break. Do you want to come out here for a little bit?
okay, sure.
And then chill. That's a good idea. Because I like the idea
okay.
of exchanging, because she has other points of view. And I'll go behind the camera, and we'll see how
Right.
that works. Because I'm running out of questions, which I shouldn't be, but...
It's all right.
So is it all right if I talk about a little bit of dance behind the scenes questions?
Of course.
Yeah. So Noami, I know you had a company of your own in addition to doing solo work over internationally, but you were saying something about the company in Boston. I wanted to know about that.
I realized that there was not a dance company in Boston. Can you
Really?
imagine? In New York, there were so many companies. And when I looked around, there wasn't one. So I decided I must have one. And so I had an article in the paper, and I went to various dance schools, and I got me a group of 8 dancers. And we began to work on the things that I'm interested in. This is using biblical source material. And we finally had a concert at MIT.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yes.
Were these young adults or
Young
teenagers?
people in their
Different
early 20s. Yeah. And that's where we danced at MIT.
Oh, that must have been
Yeah.
exciting.
Yes.
I was wondering about the behind the scenes aspect because it recently came to me through a question someone had who is not necessarily in the performing arts but who does painting, and I said, at least you can work, you don't have to have a crew there. And she said, oh, it must be very difficult because all those personalities. And I said, no, it's the reverse. These wonderful dancers, to me, are remarkable because I consider them traveling psychologists because they accept and take so much of each personality of each choreographer is very different. So what is your experience when you think back to how they interacted with you, or did you have to be a psychologist and understand
Not
that?
really. You just have
They
to
were
know what you want of the group
Yes.
and know what's impossible to get from a group.
Oh, right. Technically, you mean,
Technically, and so you have to know what each person can do.
bring to the table. so
That's
to speak,
right.
To the stage.
And so when you choreograph, you have to bear that in mind. And then, of course, when you have men in the group, that's altogether different too. There's another approach. to
Yes.
having men, yes.
How would you describe that? That's a good.
Well,
good
they
point.
move differently, they respond differently to music, depending on the men. It's also an individual thing. So I had a group of 8 women and 2 men, and they filled the roles. So I built the dance on the company.
Oh, how interesting.
Yeah.
And I know that you told me you loved designing the costumes, but did you have someone sew them? Or?
My mother did the costumes.
Oh, she was there in Boston?
She came up,
Really?
yes.
From
Only
where?
for part of them. I
Where did
lived
she-
in Swampscott, Marblehead.
Where did
It's
she
on the
live?
coast in New York.
Oh, she was in New York.
Yeah.
So she actually
So
sewed.
only part of them, because then I began to take over. It was too much
Yeah.
for
can
her, and
imagine.
I did them. I did
Oh,
the
how wonderful.
costumes.
So
Yeah.
you must have been.
And
very
I also had a
inventive.
woman in the group. Now that I think of it, who could sew.
Oh, really? Oh,
So
that's
I
great.
would base things, pin them together, and she would sew them.
Oh, how neat.
Yeah.
So,
So,
it's
yeah.
really a
And that's
cooperative
when I
technique.
began to take the dance into the synagogue for religious services. And we danced at very many of the synagogues of Boston. We moved to Canada. We were in Toronto
Oh, with the group.
That's-
That
with the group
Oh,
doing
so they
the
toured.
Sabbath service.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah. I loved Toronto because that synagogue was so long an aisle to walk up so we could
Oh,
do
how
all our
wonderful.
dancing
While
as we
going
moved
up.
to the pulpit
Oh, that must have
on
been
the way.
incredible.
Yes.
And in a way, that's kind of like what the Living Theater, a little before my time, did, where they would come into the audience from the back, and then it's like bringing in everybody into the event, so they become
Yes.
participants,
Yes.
because it sort of
Yes.
takes them by surprise.
And then I would pass things, maybe bells, down
Oh, really?
down
Oh,
in
neat.
the synagogue, and they would ring,
They would play
play,
some of the
yes, with
percussion.
the music. Yes.
Oh, that's
would-
an exciting
yes.
thing. What a great
So
idea.
let the people participate really
Yeah.
in the service.
And that's kind of like the ritualistic thing that when you think of music and dance of many different
Was part of
cultures,
religious observance.
everybody was involved. Even if
That's
they had
right.
people dancing, they also had people playing instruments in an
That's right,
impromptu way.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sure it must
And
have been
then I
very
would
good.
deliver, I forgot that, I would deliver the sermon,
Oh, really?
yes, about why include dance in the services.
Oh, how beautiful.
Yes. As a matter of fact, that's how it started. In Toronto, when I danced there, they asked me to address the congregation, and I said, I would like to have a dance service in the synagogue. And so the rabbi stood up and said, why not try it here?
Oh,
And
wow,
that's how it
great.
began. Yes.
That's really exciting.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it was very meaningful for the people who were there.
Well,
The
yes,
congregants,
yes,
because
because
it gave
other
another way.
congregations wrote to us, will I come?
Oh,
Will I come
really?
to Philadelphia? Will I
Wow.
come to Albany?
So it traveled, the word
yes,
traveled quickly,
yes.
just by word of mouth.
Yes.
Did you ever have to apply for grants like the necessary evil of our day?
No, never
You didn't do
did.
that. You just did bookings and traveling
Yes.
around.
Well, once you start and a manager sees you,
Mm-hmm.
he sort of takes over and plans everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I know you had been to Cuba, and today people are very interested because the borders are finally opening up again
Yes.
with the United States and Cuba. So at that time, though, it was still, they were kind of surveying anybody coming in that might be a spy.
Oh, they
Tell
looked
us
through
about that
my
story.
luggage very
When you got-
carefully, and I had a dagger there because my Dance of Deborah had a dagger.
Oh.
And so he looked at my costumes, he looked at the dagger, and he says, any more arms? Do you have any more arms? But anyhow, and that, well, was very difficult because of the weather.
Mm-hmm.
They had a 1 hour intermission so
Wow.
people could go out and refresh themselves.
Oh, 'cause it was too
Drink some
hot.
iced tea. Yes.
And they didn't have air conditioning, probably.
No. And so, yeah. I came for just one concert and they kept me for 2 months
Really?
and
Wow.
repeated, yes,
In different locations?
different locations.
So
yeah.
you traveled around.
A little bit, yeah.
Did the
Could-
government pay for it?
No,
or was
no,
it
no.
private
It was the
tour?
Jewish community.
Oh, how
Yes,
wonderful.
completely.
Uh-huh.
I remember walking through the streets in Cuba and it was hot. And so I'd go from one tree, the shade of one tree, to the shade of another tree and zigzag up the street. Really
Escaping.
dreadfully. People don't go out at
In the middle of the
noontime.
day, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
That's true. I know
yeah,
Latin
but that was a
America's like
great
that.
trip, a great adventure.
What a wonderful
Yes.
experience.
Yeah.
So did they have newspaper articles in Spanish about
Oh,
your
yes,
work?
yes, I have them all.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes.
Did you speak Spanish at the time?
No.
You didn't know?
No, I still don't.
Oh, but I know that you speak
Yes.
French.
Yeah.
Tell us about the your experience in France with the UNESCO,
Well-
or wasn't there something related to the
No.
something de la danse internationale de la
Archives
danse?
de la Danse.
Archives, right.
Well, that was their big dance school.
Mhm.
And the only thing I can tell you about that is that I danced there.
Mhm.
And also at l'ABC, which was really a review theater.
Mhm.
And auditioned. Somebody knew I was about to leave, so they arranged an audition, so I would have to stay
Really?
in Paris.
Oh, how
And I
wonderful.
won the audition, and I danced there, yes. And that was kind of unusual to have an Israeli dancer in a French review theater.
Uh-huh.
But there I was.
With your finger symbols.
Yes, yes.
That's neat.
So,
They love
yeah.
what they call exoticism,
That's,
l'exotisme.
that they do.
So
that
you
they
were
do.
probably-
Exactly. One more exotic dish.
Another exotic bird came
Yes,
across the stage.
Yes, yes.
That's neat.
Yeah.
So, did you enjoy being in France? How
Oh,
did they respond to you? Because they love artists. I mean, they
that
have a
they
great
do, and
appreciation.
it was an unusual thing to see my kind of dance at a review theater,
Yeah.
where ordinarily it would just be a little girl kicking or something
Right,
like
wearing
that.
feathers
Yes.
and
Yeah.
a few rhinestones.
Yeah, yeah,
That's fantastic to be able to combine that.
yeah. The star at the time was Charles Trenet. He was the
I
love.
remember that name.
Do you? Yes. So he was a singer, and he was very amused somehow that by the very same idea that I would be dancing at a French review.
Uh-huh. Oh, he
But-
didn't like the idea.
Yes. So, and also they had one institution, the Archives de la Danse, where it was a small concert theater, and when I danced there, people came who had never seen anything from Israel on Jewish themes, and then I got invited to l'ABC.
Oh, how wonderful.
So,
They were
That's-
welcoming, it sounds
Oh,
like.
yes.
They really,
Lovely-
they're
lovely.
very open-minded to a lot
well,
of...
yes, and I was a
different
sort of a
styles.
curiosity. I mean, they'd never seen anything like it.
That's fantastic. So, did you learn the language, or did you already know it?
Oh,
when
I
you were
knew
there?
French. But then the war was coming, and I had
Which war was this?
Which war? The 36 war? Was it 36? Don't ask me about
Oh,
dates.
World War II, probably.
Yeah, the last war.
Oh, yeah, World
Yeah,
War II.
was it 40? Was it 30? By me, it's all the same. We knew the war was coming, and I was supposed to go on to another theater. The Bobino had already
remember that.
engaged me, so I had to cancel that and book to
Really?
depart.
Oh.
Yeah, and in the hotel, they brought up buckets of coal ashes to extinguish any fire that there might be during the war.
Oh, wow.
So they were preparing
They
for
really-
war,
Oh.
and it was time to come back to the States.
Well, I think that a person's life is truly a statement on so many things. And I mean, I think Noami reflects a fantastic journey of many different experiences, and it also sort of built your character. And I think you have a wonderful, magnanimous, open attitude to people and to situations, and it's very endearing to me. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's how
Well, I hope you're right.
that's how I feel.
I hope
I don't
you're
know if you'll
right.
agree, but I
Yeah,
think your
yeah.
whole journey has been
Well,
such
there
an
there
interesting-
were aspects of my trip in Europe which were not so
I'm
pleasant.
sure.
When we had the opening concert in Warsaw, we locked all the doors
Really?
so we wouldn't be attacked.
Just like with
And
terrorism
my
today.
posters were torn off the walls.
Really?
We'd see them in the street.
Oh,
We
how
walked
horrible.
across. Yeah, and we'd
Wow.
let the audience, when I toured, we'd let the audience out in twos, not
Two
to
by two.
attract attention.
Oh,
Yes.
wow.
The atmosphere was not friendly
I can
at
imagine.
all. Yeah.
Yes.
And one time there was a parade of kids. They looked like little Nazis already.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
So there was already this tension
Yeah.
in the air,
yeah, that undercurrent. that-
predating what
what
came later.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Wow.
So
that's
I had a
very-
little taste of that.
Yeah, you were on
Yeah.
location to really see that.
Yeah.
It must have been something that stayed with you for a long time. I mean, because I'm sure when you left, you must have been relieved that you got out of there
Well,
safely.
we were happy to see the Statue of Liberty.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
And the times we're living in now are not much different in a way.
Well,
So,
I don't know where I would tour now. France doesn't look so
Yeah,
quiet right
I
now.
know. And, and unfortunately, there's a lot of anti-Americanism in different countries.
Yeah,
through no
revived.
fault of the individuals, but
Yeah.
with
Well,
what's been going on. So there's almost like a repeat of history in different forms. It seems to be
yeah.
occurring right
There's
now.
no end.
I just want to say that it's always a new experience for me to talk to you, Noami, and I see different layers of your experience and your wonderful outlook, and I feel very honored to know you and to get to know you even better each time. So this has been really a lot of fun.
Well, it's been my pleasure.
Okay, now let me do my conclusion.
Okay,
I don't know how this is going to
change
look here.
chairs.
We're going to
With
change.
Monsieur.
Have some cold coffee.
It's still a little warm. So anyway, it has been an absolute delight to talk to you.
Thank
and this
you.
is the first show. Now, hopefully, it's all on you. If this is a good show, my career
Okay,
goes
if
on.
not-
if not,
If not, come again.
I'll come again. I'll
Come
do another
again.
show.
We'll try
But it
later.
really has been delightful. And I think
Okay.
that's, Noami, you've had so many experiences, and it's just your spirit that's through this that's just really amazing, and I
Well-
think very inspiring. You may not find it inspiring, but it's inspiring for
Well,
many,
every
many
day is
people.
inspiring because
Yeah.
you never know.
And I think that's delightful. What a delightful.
Well, it's been a
delightful
pleasure
attitude.
having you.
It's been a pleasure being here. It
Come
really
again.
has. I probably will, especially if the show messes up, which there maybe excludes the glitches and things. This was kind of all patched together.
You're welcome anyhow.
But that's what we're doing here with the show. So if there are glitches, please, be tolerant.
Glitch with us.
So yeah, it's a show, actually, and that's what the show is about. It's a show about people and life and kind of as we are, if you will. And there's lots of, we talked about all the positive parts of your journeys and some of the negatives, but there's lots of ups and downs and rounds in life.
That's
and
what
really,
it's all about.
that's a perfect way to end. So thank you for watching. If you're watching Conversations Over Cappuccino, this is Marty Korn, host, with Noami Halpern of Woodstock, New York. And cheers to you.
Have some cold coffee.
Okay, delightful.